The 4th of July barbecue at the Harrison family home in Austin, Texas, was supposed to be a celebration. The sprawling backyard was decorated with red, white, and blue streamers. The grill was smoking with burgers and hot dogs, and 3 generations of the Harrison family had gathered under the scorching Texas sun. Maya Harrison stood near the dessert table, laughing with her cousin about a disastrous camping trip from their childhood, when her twin sister Mia's voice cut through the party chatter like a knife. "You're unbelievable, Maya. Absolutely unbelievable." Maya turned to see Mia storming toward her, face flushed with rage, tears streaming down her cheeks. Behind her, their entire family was turning to watch. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. Maya's stomach dropped. She knew that look on her sister's face. Something terrible was about to happen. "What are you talking about?" Maya asked, her voice steady despite the dread creeping through her chest. "Don't play innocent with me." Mia's voice shook with fury. "Brandon told me everything. He told me about the texts, about the secret meetings, about how you've been trying to steal him from me for months." The backyard went silent. Maya felt every eye turn to her, felt the weight of judgment before she'd even understood the accusation. Brandon, Mia's boyfriend of 2 years, a charming finance guy who'd been welcomed into the family with open arms, stood behind Mia, his expression carefully neutral. "That's insane," Maya said, her voice rising. "Mia, I have never—" "He showed me the texts," Mia screamed, holding up her phone. "Your number, your messages. I can't stop thinking about you. We should meet up when Mia's at work. She doesn't have to know. Don't you dare lie to me in front of our entire family." Maya felt the ground shift beneath her feet. This couldn't be happening. She'd barely spoken to Brandon beyond polite small talk at family gatherings. She'd certainly never texted him anything inappropriate. "Mia, let me see the phone. That's not—" "Don't touch me." Mia jerked away. "I trusted you. You're my twin sister. We shared a womb, shared a room for 18 years, shared everything. And you tried to steal the man I love?" Their mother, Catherine Harrison, pushed through the crowd, her face pale with shock. "Maya, is this true?" "No. Mom, I swear, I never—" "She's lying," Brandon interjected smoothly, his voice carrying across the yard. "Maya, I know this is embarrassing, but we all saw the texts. Maybe we should talk about this privately instead of making a scene at a family event." Maya stared at him, recognition dawning, the concerned expression, the reasonable tone, the subtle way he was positioning himself as the mediator while confirming the accusation. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a setup. "You did this," Maya said quietly, looking directly at Brandon. "You faked those messages. You set me up." "That's a serious accusation," Brandon said, his eyebrows raised in manufactured surprise. "Why would I do that?" "Because I told Mia last week that I didn't trust you." Maya's voice was getting stronger now, clearer. "Because I saw you at a restaurant with another woman 2 weeks ago, and when I mentioned it to Mia, you convinced her I was jealous and trying to cause problems." The crowd's attention shifted slightly. Some family members were looking at Brandon now with uncertainty, but Mia shook her head violently. "Stop it, Maya. Stop lying to save yourself." Brandon explained about that dinner. "It was a business associate. You're the one who's been pursuing him. He has proof he created," Maya said desperately. "Mia, think about it. When have I ever given you any reason to think I'd betray you like this? We're sisters. We've never competed over guys, never. We've never had someone like Brandon before," Mia said coldly. "And apparently you couldn't handle that I found him first." Their father, Robert Harrison, stepped forward, his expression troubled. "Everyone calm down. Maya, if you're innocent, you can prove it. Let's look at your phone. Show us that you didn't send those messages." Maya pulled out her phone with shaking hands, but as she unlocked it, a horrible realization hit her. 3 weeks ago, she'd lost her phone at the gym. When she'd recovered it from the lost and found the next day, she'd assumed some kind soul had turned it in. But what if Brandon had taken it? What if he'd had access to it long enough to send messages, screenshot them, and then return it? She scrolled through her texts frantically. There was no conversation with Brandon in her message history. But Mia was right. The number in the screenshots on her phone matched Maya's. "The messages aren't on my phone," Maya said. "They're not here because I didn't send them. But Mia, if Brandon has screenshots, anyone could have created those. He could have taken my phone. And now you're accusing my boyfriend of conspiracy theories?" Mia's laugh was bitter and broken. "Maya, just admit what you did. At least have the courage to own it." Their grandmother, Martha, pushed through the crowd, her weathered face stern. "This is ridiculous. Maya wouldn't do something like this. I've known that girl since the day she was born." "Thank you, Grandma. But the evidence is clear," Martha continued, and Maya's heart sank. "I don't understand it, but those messages came from her phone number. Maya, I'm disappointed in you." One by one, Maya watched her family members turn away from her. Some looked angry, some looked hurt, all looked disappointed. Her uncle muttered something about these millennials and their drama. Her aunt wouldn't meet her eyes. Even her mother looked uncertain, torn between her daughters. "I want you to leave," Mia said, her voice hollow now. The anger burned out into exhausted betrayal. "Get out of this house. Out of this party. I don't want to see you right now. Mia, please, leave, Maya." Their father's voice was heavy. "Let everyone cool down. We'll talk about this later, but right now, you should go." Maya looked around at her family. 3 generations who'd watched her grow up, who'd celebrated every milestone with her, who'd been her support system for 27 years. And now they were all staring at her like she was a stranger, like she was the villain in a story she didn't even understand. Brandon stood behind Mia, his hand on her shoulder in a gesture of comfort and support. And when his eyes met Maya's, she saw it. A flash of triumph so quick she almost missed it. He'd done this deliberately. But why? Maya grabbed her purse and walked through the crowd, feeling the weight of their judgment with every step. As she reached her car, she heard her younger cousin whisper loudly, "I can't believe Maya would do that to Mia. They're twins." She sat in her car for a long moment before starting the engine, her hands gripping the steering wheel. The texts were fake. They had to be. But how could she prove it? And why would Brandon sabotage her relationship with her family? As she drove away from the house where she'd grown up, where every childhood memory was formed, Maya made a decision. She wasn't going to let this stand. She was going to find proof that Brandon had set her up. And she was going to expose him before he destroyed her life completely. What Maya didn't know yet was that Brandon's manipulation went far deeper than a few fake texts. And the recording that would eventually vindicate her was already sitting on a device she'd forgotten existed. A device that would reveal not just Brandon's lies, but a conspiracy that involved more than just romantic jealousy. The truth was waiting to be discovered. Maya just had to find it. Maya sat in her small apartment in downtown Austin, staring at her laptop screen until her eyes burned. It was 3 a.m, and she'd been researching Brandon Chen for 6 hours straight. Coffee cups littered her desk, and her phone was silenced to avoid the barrage of angry texts from family members who believed she'd betrayed Mia. What she'd discovered made her blood run cold. Brandon Chen wasn't even his real name. His actual name was Brandon Caldwell, and he had a history that made Maya's accusations look prophetic rather than paranoid. 3 years ago in Seattle, he'd dated a woman named Jennifer Martinez. 6 months into the relationship, Jennifer's best friend had been accused of trying to seduce Brandon, complete with text message evidence. The friendship had imploded. Brandon and Jennifer had gotten engaged. Then, 2 months before the wedding, Jennifer discovered Brandon had been embezzling money from her business account. Maya found Jennifer through a support group forum for victims of financial fraud. At 4 a.m, she sent a message explaining her situation. To her surprise, Jennifer responded within minutes. "That's his pattern," Jennifer wrote. "He isolates his target from their support system first. He picks someone with close relationships, best friends, siblings, family, and systematically destroys those bonds. Once you're isolated and dependent on him, he takes everything: money, property, self-esteem. I lost my best friend of 20 years and $70,000 before I figured out what he was doing." "How did he fake the messages?" Maya typed frantically. "He's a tech guy. Works in cybersecurity, ironically. He knows how to spoof phone numbers, create fake screenshots, hack into devices. When I finally went to the police, they found spyware on my phone that he'd installed. He'd been monitoring everything. My calls, my texts, my location. That's how he knew exactly how to manipulate situations." Maya's hands shook as she read the response. "Brandon worked in finance," he'd said. But what if that was another lie? What if he'd had access to her phone when she'd lost it at the gym? What if he'd installed spyware then? She immediately downloaded a security scanning app and ran it on her phone. 15 minutes later, the results appeared. 3 unauthorized applications were running in the background, collecting data and sending it to an external server. Brandon had been monitoring her phone for 3 weeks. The violation made her feel sick. Every text, every call, every photo. He'd seen all of it. That's how he'd known she'd spotted him with another woman. That's how he'd known she'd mentioned it to Mia. And that's how he'd known exactly when to strike with the fake accusations. But knowing the truth and proving it were two different things. Maya saved all the evidence. Screenshots of the spyware, Jennifer's testimony, Brandon's real identity, and began building a case. But she needed something more concrete, something her family couldn't dismiss as internet conspiracy theories. Then she remembered the security camera. Her father had installed a new outdoor security system just 2 weeks before the 4th of July barbecue. The camera covered the entire backyard with high-definition footage and audio recording. If Brandon had said anything incriminating before the confrontation, if there was any evidence of him setting up the situation, it would be on that recording. The problem was getting access to it. Her father controlled the system, and he currently believed she was the villain of the story. Calling him directly would accomplish nothing. Maya needed an ally. She pulled up her contacts and found the one person who might still believe in her, her grandmother Martha. Despite her initial disappointment, Martha had raised Maya and Mia, had been present for every major moment of their lives. If anyone could see through Brandon's manipulation, it would be her. At 8 a.m, Maya drove to her grandmother's house in the suburbs. Martha answered the door in her bathrobe, surprise and wariness crossing her weathered face. "Maya, I didn't expect to see you. Grandma, please, give me 5 minutes. I have proof that Brandon set me up." Martha hesitated, then stepped aside. 5 minutes. "But Maya, if this is more lies..." "It's not, I promise." Maya pulled out her laptop and showed Martha everything. The research on Brandon's real identity, Jennifer's testimony, the spyware found on her phone, the pattern of isolation and manipulation. Martha's expression shifted as she read, from skepticism to concern to outright alarm. "This man is dangerous. He's systematically destroying my relationship with Mia and our family so he can control her completely. Grandma, I need access to Dad's security footage from the barbecue. If there's any evidence of Brandon orchestrating this, it'll be on that recording. Your father won't give you access. He's angry with you. But he'll give you access. You can tell him you want to review the party footage, maybe get some nice family photos from the video. He won't question it." Martha studied her granddaughter for a long moment. "You're asking me to deceive my son. I'm asking you to help me prove the truth before Brandon destroys Mia, the way he destroyed Jennifer Martinez. Grandma, he's already isolated her from me. How long before he cuts her off from the rest of the family? How long before he's draining her bank account?" That argument worked. Martha called Robert and asked sweetly if she could get copies of the barbecue footage. Within an hour, Robert had sent her digital access to the entire security system archive. Maya and Martha spent the afternoon reviewing footage. The camera had captured everything: guests arriving, children playing, the food being served. And then, 47 minutes before the confrontation, it captured something crucial. Brandon stood near the house with his phone, speaking to someone out of earshot of the crowd. The audio was faint, but when Maya increased the volume and filtered out background noise, his words became clear. "Yeah, it's all set up. I've got the screenshots ready, sent from her number while I had access to her phone. She'll deny it, but everyone will see the evidence. By tonight, Mia will have cut her twin sister out of her life completely. Then she'll only have me." The person on the other end of the call said something inaudible. Brandon laughed. "Trust me, this has worked 3 times before. Isolation is everything. Once I've got her alone, I'll have full access to her trust fund. She mentioned it's worth about $200,000. We'll drain it, split it, and I'll be on to the next one before she even realizes what happened." Maya and Martha stared at the screen in horror. This wasn't just about breaking up sisters. This was a calculated financial crime. Brandon had a partner, and they'd done this to multiple women before. "We need to show this to your parents," Martha said, her voice shaking. "And we need to warn Mia immediately. She won't believe us. She's already chosen him over me. But this footage, it's undeniable proof." Martha grabbed her phone and called a family meeting for that evening. "Everyone needs to be there," she said firmly, "including Brandon. Tell him we're having a family discussion about what happened, and we need everyone present to move forward." That evening, the Harrison family gathered again, this time in the living room of Robert and Catherine's house, the tension thick enough to cut. Mia sat close to Brandon on the couch, her hand in his, her eyes red from days of crying. She wouldn't look at Maya. "I've asked everyone here because new information has come to light," Martha announced, her voice carrying the authority of the family matriarch. "Robert, Please set up your laptop. We need to review the security footage from the barbecue. Mom, we all saw what happened, Robert said wearily. I don't see how watching it again. Just do it, Martha said with steel in her voice. Brandon shifted uncomfortably. I don't think this is necessary. It's just going to upset Mia more. On the contrary, I think everyone needs to see this, Martha said, her eyes fixed on Brandon with an intensity that made him flinch. The footage played. The family watched the party unfold, confused about what they were supposed to be seeing. Then the audio shifted, and Brandon's voice filled the room. Yeah, it's all set up. I've got the screenshots ready, sent from her number while I had access to her phone. She'll deny it, but everyone will see the evidence. By tonight, Mia will have cut her twin sister out of her life completely. Then she'll only have me. The room went silent. Every eye turned to Brandon, whose face had gone pale. Trust me, this has worked 3 times before. Isolation is everything. Once I've got her alone, I'll have full access to her trust fund. She mentioned it's worth about $200,000. We'll drain it, split it, and I'll be on to the next one before she even realizes what happened. Mia pulled her hand away from Brandon as if he'd burned her. What is this? It's taken out of context, Brandon stammered, standing up. I was joking with a friend about a movie plot. A movie plot? Maya's father stood, his face darkening with rage. You fabricated evidence to frame my daughter. You planned to steal from Mia. And you've done this before? I can explain. Explain to the police, Robert said, pulling out his phone. You're not leaving this house until they get here. Brandon made a move toward the door, but Maya's uncles blocked his path. He was trapped, and he knew it. His carefully constructed con had collapsed in minutes because of a security camera he didn't know existed. Mia stared at the frozen image on the laptop screen. Brandon's face caught mid-sentence, revealing his true intentions. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but this time they weren't tears of betrayal toward Maya. They were tears of realization about how thoroughly she'd been manipulated. Maya, Mia whispered, finally looking at her twin sister. Oh my God, Maya. What did I do to you? Maya crossed the room and pulled Mia into her arms. It's not your fault. He's a professional manipulator. He knew exactly how to play us against each other. As the police arrived and Brandon was led away in handcuffs, still protesting his innocence despite the undeniable evidence, the Harrison family gathered around the twins. There were apologies, tears, and the beginning of understanding about how close they'd come to losing each other forever. But the real work of healing, of rebuilding the trust that Brandon had systematically destroyed, was only just beginning. Detective Sarah Chen of the Austin Police Department's Financial Crimes Unit sat across from Maya and Mia in an interview room at the precinct, her expression grave as she reviewed the security footage for the 3rd time. Brandon had been in custody for 48 hours, and what had started as a simple fraud case was revealing itself to be something far more complex. This isn't his first time, and it won't be his last unless we stop him, Detective Chen said, pausing the video on Brandon's face during the incriminating phone call. We've contacted the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. They've been tracking a romance scam operation that matches Brandon's pattern exactly. At least 15 women across 5 states. Total losses exceeding $4 million. Mia's face went pale. $4 million. I thought this was just about my trust fund. Your trust fund was the target, but you're not the first. Detective Chen pulled up files on her laptop. Jennifer Martinez in Seattle lost $70,000. Amber Williams in Denver lost $120,000. Catherine Ross in Portland lost $250,000. The pattern is always the same. Isolate the victim from their support system, gain complete control, drain their accounts, and disappear. Maya reached for her sister's hand. But you didn't lose anything, Mia. We caught him in time. Thanks to you and Grandma, Mia said quietly, squeezing Maya's fingers. The gesture was small, but it was the first real connection they'd had since the barbecue. Detective Chen continued. Brandon, whose real name is Brandon Caldwell, has been working with a partner, someone who helps him identify targets, provides background information, sometimes even vouches for his character to build trust. We've been trying to identify this person for months. The phone call from your security footage is our first real lead. Can't you trace the number he was calling? Maya asked. It's a burner phone, already deactivated, but we have voice analysis running, and we're checking Brandon's contacts, financial records, everything. This person is someone with access to information about wealthy women, their relationships, their vulnerabilities, their financial situations. Over the next week, Maya and Mia worked with investigators while simultaneously trying to repair the damage to their relationship. It wasn't easy. The trust that had been shattered in those few minutes at the barbecue couldn't be rebuilt overnight. "I should have believed you," Mia said one evening as they sat in Maya's apartment, going through old photos of happier times. "We're twins. We've known each other our entire lives, and I chose him over you without even questioning it. He's a professional manipulator," Maya reminded her gently. "He knew exactly what buttons to push, exactly how to make the lie convincing. You're not the first person to fall for it, and you won't be the last. But I'm your sister. I should have known better." Mia's voice cracked. "I said terrible things to you. I let our whole family believe you'd betrayed me. How do we come back from that?" Maya looked at her twin, her mirror image, her lifelong companion, the person who knew her better than anyone. "We start with honesty, and we acknowledge that rebuilding trust takes time. I forgive you, Mia, but that doesn't mean everything's automatically fixed. We need to work on communication, on not letting anyone come between us again. I'll do whatever it takes," Mia promised. They established boundaries, honest conversations even when they were uncomfortable, no secrets about relationships, checking in with each other when something felt wrong. It was like learning to be sisters all over again, but this time with awareness of how fragile trust could be. 2 weeks after Brandon's arrest, Detective Chen called with shocking news. "We found his partner, and Mia, you need to sit down for this." The twins met her at the precinct, their grandmother Martha insisting on coming along for support. Detective Chen led them to an interrogation viewing room and gestured to the one-way glass. On the other side sat Amanda Brennan, Mia's financial advisor for the past 3 years. "What?" Mia gasped. "Amanda? No, that can't be right. She's been helping me manage my trust fund since Grandpa died. Mia stopped, understanding dawning in her eyes. "She had access to all my financial information, and she told Brandon exactly how much you were worth, when your funds became accessible, what your vulnerabilities were," Detective Chen confirmed. "She's been part of this operation from the beginning. She identifies targets through her clients, provides detailed financial profiles to Brandon, and takes a 30% cut of whatever they steal." Martha sank into a chair, her face stricken. "I recommended Amanda to you, Mia. She was the daughter of an old friend. I thought she was trustworthy." "That's how they operate," Detective Chen said. "They build legitimacy through personal connections, professional credentials, years of apparently ethical behavior. Then they strike when the opportunity is perfect." Through the glass, Amanda sat with her arms crossed, her expression defiant. She was 34, impeccably dressed in a business suit, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looked like exactly what she claimed to be, a successful financial advisor, not a criminal who'd helped defraud multiple women of millions of dollars. "We found communications between Amanda and Brandon going back 4 years," Detective Chen continued. "Email accounts, encrypted messages, everything. She'd been grooming you as a target for over a year, Mia, waiting for the right moment. When your relationship with Brandon became serious, she gave him the green light." "Can we talk to her?" Maya asked suddenly. Detective Chen looked surprised. "Why would you want to do that?" "Because I need to understand. How does someone do this? How does someone systematically destroy people's lives and feel no remorse?" The detective considered this. "I can arrange it, but she's under no obligation to speak with you. And honestly, Maya, I'm not sure you'll get the closure you're looking for. People like Amanda and Brandon don't think like normal people. They see victims as opportunities, not humans." But Maya insisted, and to everyone's surprise, Amanda agreed to the meeting. The interrogation room was cold and sterile as Maya, Mia, and Martha sat across from Amanda. A lawyer sat beside her, and Detective Chen stood near the door. "I assume you're here to yell at me," Amanda said coolly. "To tell me I'm a monster, that I destroyed your lives. Save your breath. I've heard it all before." "Actually," Maya said calmly, "I want to know why. You had a legitimate career, clients who trusted you, a good reputation. Why risk all of that?" Amanda laughed bitterly. "A good reputation? I was making $60,000 a year managing trust funds for spoiled rich kids who'd never worked a day in their lives. Do you know how it feels to help people manage money they didn't earn while you're struggling to pay your own student loans?" "So this was about jealousy?" Mia asked. "It was about justice. People like you. You're born on third base and think you hit a triple. Your grandfather left you $200,000 just for existing. What did you do to earn that? Nothing. Meanwhile, people like me have to claw and scrape for every dollar. So you decided to steal it, Martha said, her voice hard. Not just from Mia, but from 15 other women. You justified ruining their lives because you were jealous of their circumstances. I didn't ruin anything, Amanda shot back. Those women still had their health, their families, their futures. They just had less money. Cry me a river. Maya leaned forward. You tried to destroy my relationship with my sister. You helped Brandon isolate her, gaslight her, make her doubt everyone who loved her. That's not about money. That's about causing pain. For the first time, something flickered in Amanda's expression. Not remorse, but recognition. The isolation was Brandon's specialty. He enjoyed it. I just provided the information. You're an accessory to everything he did, Mia said. Every lie, every manipulation, every moment of pain he caused. You made that possible. Your lawyer should tell you to stop talking, Detective Chen interjected from the corner. Amanda's lawyer nodded emphatically, but Amanda ignored him. You want to know the truth? Fine. Yes, I helped Brandon find targets. Yes, I provided financial information. Yes, I took my cut of the money. But I never forced any of those women to trust him. I never forced them to hand over their bank account access or give him power of attorney. They did that themselves because they were lonely, desperate, or stupid enough to believe someone actually loved them. That's enough, the lawyer said firmly, grabbing Amanda's arm. But Amanda pulled away. You think I'm the villain? Look at the system that creates people like me. Look at how wealth is distributed in this country, how some people get everything handed to them while others get nothing. I just evened the scales a little. You committed fraud, Martha said quietly. You betrayed people who trusted you. You can justify it however you want, but that's what you are, a thief and a betrayer. The meeting ended with no apology, no remorse, no closure. As they left the precinct, Mia looked shaken. She really doesn't care about what she did to us, to any of those women. People like Amanda and Brandon lack empathy, Detective Chen explained as she walked them out. They see other people as resources to be exploited. The good news is, we have enough evidence to put them both away for a long time. Amanda's facing 20 years for fraud, conspiracy, identity theft, and money laundering. Brandon's facing even more. Over the following months, Maya and Mia attended court hearings, gave testimony, and watched as the full scope of the criminal operation was revealed. Brandon and Amanda had defrauded 15 women of over $4 million. 2 of the victims had attempted suicide after losing their life savings. 3 had declared bankruptcy. All of them carried emotional scars that would take years to heal. But there was a strange solidarity among the survivors. Maya and Mia connected with several of the other victims, forming a support group for people who'd been targeted by romance scammers. Jennifer Martinez, the woman from Seattle who'd first warned Maya about Brandon's pattern, became a close friend. The thing people don't understand about these scams, Jennifer said during one support group meeting, is that they don't just steal your money. They steal your ability to trust. Every relationship after becomes suspect. You second-guess everyone's motives. Maya watched Mia nod in understanding. Her sister had started therapy to process the manipulation and betrayal. She was slowly rebuilding her confidence, learning to trust her own judgment again. The Harrison family also did work to heal. They'd all jumped to conclusions, believed the worst of Maya without question, allowed themselves to be manipulated. In family therapy sessions, they examined how Brandon had exploited their dynamics, their tendency to avoid conflict, their willingness to believe surface-level evidence, their failure to communicate openly. We almost lost each other, Mia said during one particularly emotional session, over a con artist who knew exactly how to play us. We can never let that happen again. 6 months after the barbecue, Brandon and Amanda were sentenced. Brandon received 15 years in federal prison for fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. Amanda received 12 years for her role in the scheme. Both were ordered to pay restitution to their victims, though everyone knew they'd never see most of that money. As Maya and Mia left the courthouse after the sentencing, they stood on the steps in the Texas sunshine, their hands linked. We did it, Mia said softly. We got justice. More importantly, Maya said, we got each other back. 1 year after the sentencing, Maya sat at her desk in her new office at a nonprofit organization that helped fraud victims, reviewing case files, when her assistant brought in the mail. Among the usual correspondence was a thick envelope with a prison return address. Her blood ran cold when she saw the name, Brandon Caldwell. She stared at the envelope for a full minute before calling Mia. He wrote to me, Maya said without preamble. Brandon, from prison. The silence on the other end was heavy. What does he want? Mia finally asked. I haven't opened it yet. I wanted to talk to you first. Should I even read it? Mia was quiet, then said, Open it on speaker. We'll read it together. With trembling hands, Maya opened the envelope and unfolded several pages of neat handwriting. She began reading aloud. Dear Maya and Mia, I know you have no reason to trust anything I say. I destroyed your relationship, violated your trust, and tried to steal from you. The fact that you're even reading this is more than I deserve. I'm not writing to apologize, though I am sorry. Words don't mean much coming from someone like me. I'm writing because I have information that could protect your family from something dangerous, and despite what you think of me, I don't want to see you hurt. Prison gives you a lot of time to think. I've been in therapy here, mandated, but I've actually been doing the work. Dr. Ramos specializes in antisocial personality disorder and criminal thinking patterns. Through our sessions, I've begun to understand the damage I've caused, not just to you, but to 15 other women. 15 lives I helped destroy because I told myself I was just making a living, that everyone's a mark, that emotions are weaknesses to exploit. But here's what you need to know. Amanda and I weren't the only ones targeting your family. Maya stopped reading, her heart pounding. Mia's sharp intake of breath came through the phone. Before I was arrested, Amanda mentioned another operation. She was nervous about it, said it was bigger than our romance scams. Someone was planning something involving your family's business, your father's construction company specifically. Amanda wouldn't give me details because I wasn't directly involved, but she mentioned offshore accounts, fraudulent contracts, and someone on the inside. I dismissed it at the time because I was focused on Mia's trust fund. But after my arrest, I started piecing things together from conversations I'd overheard. Amanda met with someone at least once a month, always in person, always careful about electronic communications. She called this person the architect, because they designed the cons while people like me executed them. I don't know who the architect is, but I know they have access to your father's business dealings, and I know they're planning something that will make my fraud look like petty theft in comparison. Amanda refused to cooperate with investigators, but before she went silent, she told me one thing. The Harrison job will be my retirement fund. I'm telling you this not because I expect forgiveness or leniency. I'm telling you because even I have limits. What Amanda and the architect are planning will destroy your entire family, not just one person. You deserve to know. If you want more information, Detective Chen knows how to arrange a prison visit. I'll tell you everything I know. No tricks, no manipulations. Just the truth. Brandon Maya set down the letter, her hands shaking. Is this real, or is this just another manipulation? Call Detective Chen, Mia said immediately. Let her read this and tell us what she thinks. Within an hour, Detective Chen was at Maya's office, reading the letter with a grim expression. This is consistent with information we've been gathering about Amanda. She refused to cooperate with federal prosecutors, took a plea deal, and hasn't said a word about any other criminal associates. We've suspected there were bigger players involved, but we had no proof. So Brandon could be telling the truth? Maya asked. Or he could be manipulating you again. Inmates do this. They offer information in hopes of reduced sentences, special privileges, or just entertainment. Breaking people psychologically is sometimes their only form of power in prison, Detective Chen warned. But if he's telling the truth, and someone is planning to defraud our father's company, Mia's voice trailed off. Then we need to investigate, Detective Chen finished. Let me contact the FBI's white-collar crime division. They'll want to interview Brandon and look into your father's business dealings. In the meantime, don't alert anyone in your family. If there is an inside person, we don't want them to know we're investigating. The next week, Maya and Mia found themselves in the visitor's room of a federal prison, sitting across from Brandon for the first time since his sentencing. He looked different, thinner, older, with shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there before. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. I wasn't sure you would. We're not here for you, Maya said coldly. We're here for information. Tell us everything you know about the architect and this plan involving our father's company. Brandon nodded, accepting the hostility without argument. Amanda started working with the architect about 5 years ago. This person recruits specialists for different types of cons. Romance scammers like me, identity thieves, hackers, inside informants. They coordinate everything from the shadows, taking the biggest cut while keeping themselves protected. Who are they? Mia demanded. I never met them. Amanda was obsessive about protecting their identity. But I know they have legitimate access to corporate information. They're not a hacker breaking in from outside. They're someone on the inside who uses their position to identify opportunities for fraud. And our father's company? Maya pressed. Harrison Construction has several government contracts worth millions, right? Brandon asked. When the twins nodded, he continued. The architect has been studying those contracts for over a year. The plan involves creating shell companies, submitting fraudulent invoices, and redirecting funds before anyone notices. By the time the fraud is discovered, millions will be gone, and your father will be the one held responsible. Detective Chen, who was observing the interview, leaned forward. How do you know all this? Amanda got drunk one night, about 6 months before my arrest. She was celebrating because the architect had finally greenlit the Harrison job. She said it was brilliant, that your father would go to prison for fraud he didn't commit while they got away clean with the money. Mia's face went pale. Our father could go to prison? If we don't stop it, Detective Chen said grimly. She turned back to Brandon. What else do you know? Any names, locations, specific details? Amanda met the architect at a restaurant called the Blue Pearl, always on the third Thursday of the month, always at noon. I followed her once out of curiosity. I didn't see who she met. They were in a private room. But I know the pattern. If you watch that restaurant on the third Thursday, you might identify them. Over the next month, the FBI conducted a careful investigation into Harrison Construction's finances. They found exactly what Brandon had described: shell companies that had been slowly integrated into the vendor list, fraudulent invoices that matched legitimate work but went to fake accounts, and a pattern of financial manipulation that would eventually be traced back to Robert Harrison. The inside person, the FBI discovered, was Stephen Mitchell, Robert's business partner of 15 years and his most trusted friend. When Stephen was arrested, the Harrison family was devastated. Robert had trusted him with everything: finances, contracts, company decisions. Stephen had been at family dinners, birthdays, graduations, and all along, he'd been stealing from the company and setting Robert up to take the fall. I don't understand, Robert said, as the family gathered to process the news. Stephen and I built this company together. Why would he do this? The FBI agent handling the case explained that Stephen had gambling debts exceeding $2 million. He'd been recruited by the architect, whose identity they were still working to uncover, and had spent the past 2 years systematically defrauding the company to pay off his debts and fund his lifestyle. If it wasn't for Brandon's information, we wouldn't have caught this until it was too late, the agent said. Your daughter Maya's decision to take that letter seriously potentially saved your company and your freedom, Mr. Harrison. Maya and Mia exchanged complicated looks. They'd been saved by the man who'd tried to destroy them. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. I still don't forgive him, Mia said quietly to Maya later. What he did to us was unforgivable, but he told the truth when it mattered. Maya replied, People are complicated. He's a manipulative criminal who helped us stop an even worse crime. Both things can be true. The FBI's investigation continued, expanding to track down the architect, who turned out to be a former federal prosecutor who'd gone corrupt and had been coordinating white-collar crime for years. Stephen Mitchell's testimony, along with Amanda's eventual cooperation, helped dismantle an operation that had defrauded dozens of companies of over $20 million. Through it all, Maya and Mia grew closer. The ordeal had taught them that trust, once broken, could be rebuilt, but it required constant work, honest communication, and the willingness to forgive without forgetting. We survived this, Mia said one evening as they sat on Maya's balcony, watching the Austin sunset. We survived Brandon, Amanda, false accusations, and nearly losing each other. What can't we handle now? Hopefully nothing else for a while, Maya laughed. I'd like a boring year where the most dramatic thing that happens is deciding where to have Thanksgiving dinner. But both sisters knew that surviving trauma changed you. It made you stronger, more cautious, more appreciative of the relationships that endured. And it taught you that sometimes the people who hurt you most could also be the ones who inadvertently saved you. 2 years after Brandon's sentencing, Maya was leading a workshop for fraud victims when she received a call from the federal prosecutor's office. Brandon Caldwell was being granted early release. His sentence reduced from 15 years to 7, based on his extensive cooperation with law enforcement. 7 years? Maya repeated, stunned. He's only served 2. His testimony helped dismantle a criminal network worth over $20 million in fraud, the prosecutor explained. Without his cooperation, we wouldn't have caught the architect, Stephen Mitchell, or any of the other players. The judge deemed his assistance substantial enough to warrant early release with time served and supervised probation. Maya felt her stomach churn. She called Mia immediately. "I know," Mia said before Maya could speak. "They called me too. He wants to meet with us before his release." "Absolutely not." Maya's response was instant. "We don't owe him anything. His cooperation doesn't erase what he did to us." "I agree. But Maya, part of me is curious. Is he different? Did he actually change? Or was this just another manipulation to get out of prison early?" The sisters discussed it for hours, with each other, with their therapist, with their family. The consensus was clear. They didn't have to meet with Brandon. His early release had nothing to do with them, and they owed him nothing. But 3 days before his release, a letter arrived. This time, Maya read it alone first. "Maya and Mia, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know my cooperation doesn't make up for what I did, but I'm being released, and before I leave this prison, I want to say something to you both in person. Not for my benefit, but for yours. In 2 years of therapy, I've learned that the people I hurt most deserve closure. Not the closure I think they need, but the closure they define for themselves. If that means never seeing or hearing from me again, I understand. But if it means facing me one more time and telling me exactly how my actions affected you, without me deflecting or manipulating or defending myself, then I want to give you that opportunity. I can't undo the damage I caused. I can't give you back the trust I destroyed, or the family moment I poisoned. But I can sit across from you, listen to everything you need to say, and accept full responsibility without excuses. If that would help you heal, even a little, then I'll do it. If you don't respond, I'll understand. I'll disappear from your lives completely. You'll never hear from me again. But if you want this meeting, the prison will arrange it." Brandon and Maya showed the letter to Mia. They sat in silence for a long time. "Do we need this?" Mia finally asked. "Do we need to face him again?" "I don't know," Maya admitted. "Part of me wants to tell him off, to make him really understand what he did. But another part just wants him to disappear from our lives forever." They discussed it with Dr. Patterson, the therapist they now saw together for twin-specific relationship work. "Forgiveness and healing don't require confrontation," Dr. Patterson explained. "You don't need to face your abuser to move forward. But some people find that speaking their truth directly to the person who harmed them brings a sense of completion. It's entirely your choice." "What if he manipulates us again?" Mia asked. "Then you leave. You have all the power in this situation. He's in prison. You're free. You can walk away at any moment. And importantly, you're going together. You have each other. He can't isolate either of you anymore." After days of deliberation, Maya and Mia decided to meet with Brandon one final time. Not for him, but for themselves. To say everything they'd never gotten to say at the barbecue, when they'd been blindsided by his manipulation. The meeting was arranged for 2 days before his release. The sisters drove to the federal prison together, their hands clasped tightly as they walked through security. Brandon was brought to a private visiting room, not the general visitors area. He looked profoundly different from 2 years ago, not just thinner and older, but fundamentally altered. There was a weight to his expression, a heaviness that hadn't been there before. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly, making no move to sit until they did. "I know how hard this must be." "Don't," Maya said sharply. "Don't tell us how we feel. That's what you did before. You told us what to think, how to feel, what to believe. Not anymore. You're right. I'm sorry." Brandon sat down slowly. "I'll listen. Whatever you need to say, I'll listen." Mia spoke first, her voice shaking but determined. "You tried to destroy my relationship with my sister, my twin sister, the person who's known me since before we were born. You saw our bond and decided it was an obstacle to stealing my money, so you systematically worked to break us apart." "Yes," Brandon said quietly. "That's exactly what I did. You studied us. You figured out our vulnerabilities. You used the spyware to monitor Maya's movements so you'd know exactly when to strike. You fabricated evidence that you knew would be believable because it exploited our family's tendency to avoid conflict." "Yes," Brandon's voice was barely above a whisper. "Look at us," Mia demanded. "Look at what you did." Brandon raised his eyes, and for the first time, Maya saw something that looked like genuine remorse. Not the manipulative tears he'd used before, but real anguish. "For weeks after that barbecue, I couldn't sleep," Maya said, her voice hard. "I'd lie awake replaying every interaction with you, wondering how I'd missed the signs. I questioned my own judgment, my instincts, my ability to read people. You made me doubt myself in ways that affected every relationship I had. I blame myself for not believing Maya immediately, Mia added. I chose you over my sister. That guilt. It's still there. We've worked through it in therapy. We've rebuilt our relationship. But that scar? It's permanent. I know, Brandon said. I know I did that to you. Both of you. Do you? Maya leaned forward. Do you really understand? Because you did this to 15 other women too. Jennifer Martinez in Seattle almost killed herself after you destroyed her friendships and stole her money. Amber Williams in Denver still can't trust anyone enough to date. Catherine Ross had to declare bankruptcy. You left a trail of destruction across 5 states. And for what? Money? Control, Brandon said, surprising them. Dr. Ramos helped me understand that it was never really about the money. It was about feeling powerful, feeling smarter than everyone else, feeling like I could manipulate any situation. The money was just how I kept score. That doesn't make it better, Mia said. No, it doesn't. It makes it worse, because it means I hurt people for my own ego, not even for survival or necessity, just because I could. The sisters sat in silence, processing this admission. Finally, Maya spoke. Why did you tell us about the architect? You could have kept quiet, served your time, and gotten out eventually. Why risk cooperating? Brandon was quiet for a long moment. Because I realized that if I didn't stop, someone else would do to other families what I did to yours. And because, this is going to sound self-serving, but I need to say it anyway. In therapy, I've been working on accountability, not just admitting what I did wrong, but trying to make amends where possible. I can't give back what I took from you, the trust, the peace of mind, the unscarred relationship, but I could prevent more harm. That's not redemption. It's just the bare minimum of being human. Are you sorry? Mia asked suddenly. Really sorry? Not just sorry you got caught? Brandon looked at her, and in his eyes, the sisters saw something they'd never seen before. Vulnerability. I'm learning to be sorry. For most of my life, I didn't think about other people as real. They were marks, opportunities, obstacles. Dr. Ramos calls it antisocial personality disorder. I lack the natural empathy most people have. But the thing about empathy is, you can develop it cognitively, even if you don't feel it instinctively. I'm learning to understand the harm I caused by thinking through the consequences, by really considering what I did to you. That sounds clinical, Maya said. Not emotional. It is clinical. I'm not wired to feel remorse the way most people do, but I'm learning to value other people's well-being intellectually, to make choices based on not wanting to cause harm, rather than on feeling guilty about it. It's not the same as natural empathy, but Dr. Ramos says it's how people like me can become better. We might never feel what you feel, but we can learn to act like we do. The honesty was startling. No tears, no emotional manipulation, just stark truth about his limitations and his efforts to change. I don't forgive you, Mia said finally. I don't know if I ever will. I don't forgive you either, Maya added. What you did is unforgivable, but I believe you're trying to be better. And I appreciate you telling us about the architect, even if your motivations were complicated. That's more than I deserve, Brandon said. Can I ask you something? The sisters exchanged glances, then nodded. Are you okay? I mean, really okay? Did you rebuild your relationship? We did, Mia said firmly. It took time, therapy, and a lot of hard work. But we're closer now than we were before you tried to destroy us. You tried to break our bond, and instead, you made it stronger. Something flickered across Brandon's face. Maybe genuine happiness. Maybe just cognitive recognition that this was an appropriate response. Good. That's good. Maya stood up. We're done here. You'll be released in 2 days. Don't contact us again. Don't look for us. Don't send letters. This is the last time we see each other. I understand. Brandon stood as well, keeping distance between them. For what it's worth, and I know it's not worth much, I hope you both have amazing lives. Lives full of trust, love, and relationships that are real and honest. Everything I tried to take from you. As the sisters walked out of the prison for the last time, Mia turned to Maya. Did we need that? I think we did, Maya said slowly. Not for closure, exactly, but for confirmation. He's not the monster we built up in our heads, and he's not the charming guy who fooled us either. He's just a deeply damaged person who hurt us badly and is now trying to be less terrible. That's realistic, and somehow that makes it easier to move on. 5 years after the barbecue that nearly destroyed their relationship, Maya stood at the podium of a conference center in Houston, looking out at 200 faces, all survivors of romance scams and financial fraud. Beside her stood Mia, and behind them, a banner read, "Survivors Empowered, Breaking the Cycle of Fraud." "My name is Maya Harrison, and this is my twin sister Mia," Maya began. "5 years ago, a man named Brandon Caldwell tried to destroy our relationship as part of a plan to steal $200,000 from Mia's trust fund. He almost succeeded. The audience was rapt. Maya and Mia had built this organization from the ground up, a support network for fraud victims that combined peer counseling, legal resources, and financial recovery assistance. What had started as informal meetings in Maya's living room had grown into a national nonprofit serving over 3,000 victims annually. "The thing about fraud is that it doesn't just steal your money," Mia continued, taking the microphone. "It steals your ability to trust. It makes you question every relationship, every interaction, every act of kindness. You wonder if you'll ever feel safe again." As they spoke, sharing their story of betrayal and recovery, Maya spotted a familiar face in the audience, Jennifer Martinez, the woman from Seattle who'd first warned her about Brandon. Jennifer now volunteered as a peer counselor, helping new victims navigate the emotional aftermath of financial fraud. After the presentation, during the networking session, a young woman approached Maya and Mia nervously. She was in her mid-20s, with red-rimmed eyes and trembling hands. "I'm Sophia," she said quietly. "I'm one of Brandon Caldwell's victims, from Portland. He destroyed my relationship with my best friend 3 years ago before you caught him. I lost $80,000 and my closest friendship. I saw your names on the victim list during the trial, and I've been wanting to contact you ever since." Maya and Mia exchanged glances. They'd known intellectually that there were other victims, but meeting them face to face brought the reality home. "We're so sorry that happened to you," Mia said gently. "Have you been able to recover financially?" Sophia shook her head. "The restitution from Brandon barely covered a fraction, but honestly, the money isn't even the worst part. My best friend Sarah, we'd been friends since kindergarten. Brandon convinced me she was trying to seduce him. He showed me fake evidence just like he did with you. We had a huge fight at my birthday party, almost identical to what happened to you at your barbecue. Sarah and I haven't spoken in 3 years. Have you tried reaching out to her?" Maya asked. "How can I? How do I explain that I chose a con artist over her? That I believed his lies and threw away 20 years of friendship?" Tears streamed down Sophia's face. "When I saw your presentation about how you and Mia rebuilt your relationship, I need to know how you did it. How do you come back from that?" Maya and Mia sat down with Sophia in a quiet corner. "It wasn't easy," Maya said honestly, "and it didn't happen overnight. We had to completely rebuild trust from the ground up. We started with honesty," Mia added. "Brutal, uncomfortable honesty about how the manipulation had worked, what we'd both done wrong, what we needed from each other going forward. We also went to therapy together, twin-specific therapy that helped us understand our unique dynamic and how to protect it. But the most important thing," Maya said, "was deciding that our relationship was worth fighting for. That meant being willing to sit with uncomfortable feelings, to forgive without forgetting, and to establish new boundaries." Sophia listened intently, taking notes. "Do you think Sarah would even want to hear from me?" "There's only one way to find out," Mia said gently. "And Sophia, even if she doesn't respond, even if she can't forgive you, reaching out is still worth it. Because it's part of your healing. It's you taking back the power that Brandon took from you when he made you doubt your closest friendship." Over the next week, Maya and Mia worked with Sophia, helping her craft a letter to Sarah. They connected her with a therapist who specialized in relationship recovery after manipulation, and they invited her to join their support group, a weekly video call where Brandon's victims could share experiences and support each other. "This is what we do now," Maya explained to Sophia during one group session. "We help people heal from what Brandon and people like him did, because we know what it's like. We lived it." The support group had 15 regular members, women from 5 different states who'd all been targeted by Brandon's operation. Each had lost money, relationships, and trust. But together, they were rebuilding. Jennifer Martinez led many of the sessions. "The trauma doesn't disappear," she told the group. "But you learn to carry it differently. You learn to trust again, carefully, but genuinely. And you learn that being victimized doesn't define you. How you heal defines you." 6 weeks after the conference, Sophia called Maya with news. "Sarah agreed to meet with me. We're having coffee tomorrow. I'm terrified." "You should be," Maya said honestly. "This is hard. But Sophia, you're doing the brave thing. Whatever happens, you're taking your life back from Brandon's manipulation. The next day, Sophia called again, this time crying, but with joy in her voice. We talked for 4 hours. Sarah said she'd been waiting for me to reach out, but she was too hurt and angry to make the first move. She knew something was wrong even at the time. She said Brandon was too smooth, the evidence was too perfect, but by the time she figured it out, I'd already cut her out of my life. Are you going to rebuild your friendship? Mia asked when Sophia called her next. We're going to try. Sarah suggested we do what you and Maya did. Therapy together, honest conversations, new boundaries. It won't be the same friendship we had before, but maybe it can be something even stronger. Watching Sophia heal gave Maya and Mia a sense of purpose that went beyond their own recovery. They'd turned their trauma into advocacy, their pain into power to help others. As their nonprofit grew, they expanded services. They partnered with law enforcement to educate people about romance scams. They lobbied for stronger victim protection laws. They created educational materials for families about recognizing manipulation. And most importantly, they built a community where survivors didn't have to heal alone. You know what's strange? Mia said to Maya one evening, as they reviewed grant applications for their organization. Brandon tried to isolate us, to break our bond so he could exploit me. But instead, he created something bigger than just us. He created a community of survivors helping each other. That's the thing about trauma, Maya replied. It can break you, or it can become the foundation for something meaningful. We chose meaningful. Their organization also did something unusual. They maintained contact with Brandon. Not personally, but through a restorative justice program, where he participated in educational videos about manipulation tactics, helping others recognize the warning signs of fraud. His participation was voluntary, part of his ongoing therapy and attempt at accountability. I still don't forgive him, Maya told a reporter who was profiling their organization. I don't think I ever will, but I can acknowledge that he's trying to do something productive with his freedom. That doesn't erase what he did, but it might prevent someone else from becoming a victim. On the 5th anniversary of the barbecue, the Harrison family gathered again, this time for a celebration. Martha had turned 80, and the whole family was there to honor her, including Maya and Mia, who stood side by side, their bond stronger than ever. I'm so proud of you girls, Martha said, pulling them both into a hug. You took the worst thing that could have happened and turned it into something beautiful. We had good examples, Mia said, squeezing her grandmother's hand. You believed in us when it mattered most. You didn't let Brandon's manipulation win. As the party continued around them, Maya and Mia slipped away to the backyard, the same backyard where the accusation had happened 5 years ago. The security camera was still there, a silent reminder of how close they'd come to losing each other. Do you ever think about how different things would be if Dad hadn't installed that camera? Mia asked. All the time, Maya admitted. We might never have reconciled. Brandon might have succeeded in stealing your money. Stephen Mitchell might have destroyed Dad's company. One piece of technology changed everything. No, Mia corrected gently. Grandma changed everything. She believed in you when no one else did. She helped you find the evidence. The camera was just a tool. Grandma was the catalyst. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the Texas sky in shades of orange and pink. 5 years ago, this spot had been the scene of their worst nightmare. Now it was just their grandmother's backyard, full of happy memories and second chances. I've been thinking, Maya said suddenly, we should expand the nonprofit. Start a program specifically for helping survivors reconnect with the relationships that fraud destroyed, like what we did with Sophia. That's a great idea, Mia agreed. We could call it Reconnect, helping people rebuild bonds that manipulators tried to break. We're going to need more funding, more volunteers. Maybe we should reach out to that foundation that contacted us last month. They pulled out their phones and started planning, their heads bent together the way they'd done since childhood. The twin bond that Brandon had tried to destroy was now the foundation of something that helped hundreds of people heal. Inside the house, the party continued. Their father laughed at something their uncle said. Their mother showed pictures to cousins. Martha held court at the center of it all, the matriarch who'd held the family together when manipulation had nearly torn it apart. And in the backyard, 2 sisters who'd survived betrayal, manipulation, and nearly losing each other stood together, not just as survivors, but as advocates, healers, and proof that bonds forged in trauma can become unbreakable. Thank you, Mia said suddenly. For what? Maya asked. For not giving up on us. for fighting to prove the truth, for giving me a second chance, even when I didn't deserve it. Maya wrapped her arm around her twin sister. We're sisters. We're survivors. We're unbreakable now. Brandon tried to destroy us, but instead, he just showed us how strong we really are. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Maya and Mia returned to the party, their hands linked, ready to face whatever came next, together.